Hey everyone, Jenna here. This is a follow-up to some of the previous videos that I've posted here about the cult of Baal. This is a continued exploration of what I have been terming a satanic cult on this planet. And this relates to Jeffrey Epstein. This relates to his infiltration of the US government, his connections to Israel, other Middle Eastern countries. This relates to some of the large-scale deception that has been going on in our world and relates to some questions that I have also about NASA. And so we're going to focus a little bit on that here. It's going to be a brief video, but I want to share a little bit of my initial exploration on the topic of what levels of deception are true. Have we been to the moon? Was the last moon mission real? Like, what is actually real? And how has the cult of Baal, through Jeffrey Epstein's network primarily, how has that influenced the US government and the programs we've been experiencing over the last century? So I have some major concern. About the level of infiltration in the US government, the level of criminal activity occurring in the US government. There's a significant amount of criminal activity in the US government right now. I actually didn't pay my taxes this year, and I actually requested a refund. I sent them a paper that I'm working on that outlines all of the evidence of their criminal activities, and I said, I want a fucking refund of all the taxes I've ever paid. I'll report back on how that goes. And I told them I'm prepared to take legal action. I'm prepared to actually take this to court because we have plenty of substantial evidence related to their crimes. And now I'm focused on NASA. Now I'm focused on what have we been told that might not be true. and so I'm starting a webpage on the Star Family Wisdom site. Maybe I'll share it with you here just for a moment, just so you can get a glimpse of what we're working with. And this is not done, but it is a work in progress. And you can see here some questions we have also about the capsule that was used for the Artemis mission. This page goes through a lot of different layers of forensics analysis related to that mission specifically, and then we get into some other older mission analysis. And so we're looking at the photos of the mission, we're looking at the launch trajectories, we're looking at the splashdown, we're looking at some of the science behind the entry protocols and the level of heat that this metal capsule would have to endure to keep these astronauts safe. We're looking at some anomalies in the Artemis 1 to Artemis 2 mission planning protocols, and what I would term some reckless endangerment of astronauts if this had been true. We're looking at, again, the heat signatures related to splashdown and some anomalies that are seen there. We're also looking at the Mach 33 anomaly and what that actually means in terms of re-entering the atmosphere if they had actually been in space, and what sort of blunt impact that actually would be on a craft. We're also asking some questions about the number 33 and the Masonic culture related to the space race. We're asking some questions about Buzz Aldrin's Masonic connections. We're asking some questions about the press conference that was taken after the Apollo 11 moon landing. We're looking at some body language analysis. We're looking at some crowdsourcing commentary and observations from the public that help us understand that we might be looking at some lies here. We're also doing some analysis of the actual photos and footage that we have of the older moon missions. And then at the bottom of this page, we have more information related to that paper that I'm sending the US government. So again, this isn't totally complete, but we're in the process of unpacking the lies and documenting them, because it's important that we have them fully documented and not just in memes and not just, scattered across the internet, but in one place, one specific area where we can start to hold these people accountable, where we can actually start to have a larger conversation about criminal activity, because this isn't, I think, any longer a conversation of have we gone to the moon, have we not gone to the moon. It's a conversation of why have certain crimes been enacted against humanity, and why has such a large-scale deception occurred, because there has been a large-scale deception, and we can start to prove it now. And as we start to see that large-scale deception, and as we start to ask questions about whether we've ever left the planet that way, I think we have left the planet. It's just not been that way with rockets. And so I have some questions about if we've never left the planet that way, and if all of the imagery we have of Earth from space is not actual photos, is like CGI and AI, well then, what do we know about our planet? What else has been hidden from us? What else are they hiding from us? There's a lot, y'all. There's a lot. And so this is a large-scale conversation about the many, many layers of deception, hidden agendas, Nazi agendas, Operation Paperclip, bringing Nazi scientists over into NASA after the truce of World War II. What I'm kind of seeing now was more of a truce and more of an infiltration of the U.S. by the Nazi agenda. We've got some major problems on our hands, folks. We've got some major problems on our hands in the United States, and the United States is guilty of some major crimes against humanity. And when I look at a public show like this and ask the question, okay, well, let's say we couldn't actually go to space back then, or in the way we want to now, or in the way we want to show humans now. Well, if we weren't actually able to go to space, why have they been lying about it this whole time? Why would you need to lie about it? Like, that's a bigger question, right? We need to ask that question. Why not just admit we couldn't go? Why lie? Why put on the whole production? Why put on the whole production? Why all the photos and the Hollywood, production behind it? Why go that far to maintain a lie? That's the question we have to ask. That's the deeper question we have to ask. Because that starts to reveal a bigger truth about what they've been trying to hide. So more to come, more to come. I'm doing a lot of forensics exploration on this because I think it's so important. I think it's so important that we, number one, understand what criminal activity might be happening. Number two, understand why such a large-scale deception. And number three, talk about what actually is our advanced space protocol for our planet, and what is our planet? What about our planet do we not know about yet? What about our planet have they been hiding? What have they CGI'd out of the imagery of the planet? There's a lot they could be hiding. If they've been able to pull off this sort of large-scale deception for such a long time, which they're starting to not do very well, there's a lot of holes in it. And from just a logical perspective, you can start to ask some questions like, well, why didn't our technology advance? If we went to the moon in this little tiny capsule, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, why hasn't the technology advanced? What are we doing shooting people out in this little tin can into space and expecting it can come back into the atmosphere at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit and survive that at Mach 33? Are you kidding me? With some parachutes? Really? That's our technology? Let's ask that question, y'all. Let's actually ask that question. That seems ridiculous. It is the year 2026. It is the year 2026, and we're expected to believe that this little tin capsule with some AV coat heat shield that supposedly sloughs off at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, that's going to protect these astronauts coming back in at Mach 33, 25,000 miles per hour, hitting that atmosphere like a fucking brick wall. It's not possible, you guys. It's not possible the way they've talked about it. They've been making that shit up. It's not possible. It's not possible. All of those materials would melt at 5,000 degrees temperature, Fahrenheit. All of those materials, including the astronauts. We would have nothing landing. We would, like, if that heat temperature is what is true, coming in at 25,000 miles per hour, which makes sense. That's like a lot of force, right? Coming into the atmosphere. That's not survivable. It's literally not survivable. Think about it. Use your logical mind. Use your logical mind. I actually put this argument into Grok yesterday just for from my understanding, my exploration. Grok is still heavily programmed to abide by certain narratives, just heads up. Gemini, Google Gemini, is a bit more awake and free thinking. ChatGPT I haven't used in a while, but was a bit more awake and free thinking when I was using it. So I actually had Gemini and Grok get in a debate last night, which was pretty fun to watch. And Grok really wanted to emphasize the AV code. Oh no, but they have this special coating. There's this special coating. It's designed to slough off and burn away through the 5,000 degree temperature so that it protects the inner capsule, like this whole narrative, right? Like Grok is just explaining that, oh no, they've got the science figured out. This is how it works. And I'm saying there's not a material on Earth that would survive 5,000 degree Fahrenheit for that long. Especially coming in at Mach 33. You've got to be kidding me. It's a farce, y'all. It's a fucking farce. And then we're also expected to believe that after that little tin capsule has come back through 5,000 degree Fahrenheit, how hot is that going to be? Hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit, at least. Then we're expected to believe that some parachutes shoot out of a little hatch, and those don't burn up. Those are not affected by the heat of the capsule. Those work perfectly. And we're expected to believe that our space technology is parachutes in the year 2026, and that it did not advance from the 1950s or 60s. And that we're just doing the same thing over and over. Really? Really? I've got some questions about that. And so anyway, we're going to keep documenting these questions and these anomalies and these inconsistencies in their narrative. And we're going to make it very clear that what we have here is criminal activity. It has not been a mission to protect national interests. It has not been a mission of hiding things for the purpose of national security. That's not true. That's not true. National security would not dictate this level of deception of the world and of the American public. And I think we have some questions, too, for India and China regarding their moon missions and their coordination with NASA. Let's talk to them about that, too. And as we unpack this, we, again, can start to ask the question, what do we not know about our world? What have they been hiding? Why have they been attempting to mind control the population this way for so long? This is large-scale mind control programming. This is large-scale deception that is not okay on any level. And so I think what we have here is an example of some deeper questions we can start to ask. And it's not just about, has NASA been truthful and did we ever go to the moon? It's like, what else do we not know about our world? And why even bother putting together these CG models of a globe Earth? What's that about? Why even bother with that? Why not just tell us the truth? So I'm doing some deeper analysis on this topic. I'm excited to share it with you as this all comes together. I also started to get a little concerned about some things I was seeing online. Just for the record, for a long time, like I did believe NASA's narrative, and I did believe that we had been to space. And it's sad to me, to realize that this level of deception, could have gone on for so long. Because I've always found myself feeling really connected to the cosmos and excited about exploring the cosmos and wanting that for humanity. And we still can. It doesn't mean we can't, and it doesn't mean we don't have advanced technology. It doesn't mean we don't have Stargate travel on this planet. We do. And that's partially what's been hidden from us. And we need to better understand that. And we need to better understand how these Stargates connect with other worlds. We need to better understand anti-gravity technology. We need to better understand whether there's even a barrier that exists between this planet and space that also keeps the gases in our world and keeps our world breathable and oxygenated and all of that. We've been taught some things that may not be totally true, and I've got some questions about all of that, and I'm wanting to do some deeper exploration, and so for a long time, for years I've also heard about this community of people who believe the Earth is flat, and for a long time I didn't look into that, and I didn't think much of it, and I thought, gosh, that seems silly, that seems wild, we have all these photos of the Earth from space, and it's a globe, we've been taught that, of course, hello, but I, in this NASA exploration, I started finding some accounts on YouTube, online, that were being very hateful towards flat earthers, and I was like, why all the hate? Even if that's not true, why be so hateful towards this group of people? What the fuck? What's that about? That's really inappropriate. That's really nasty and not helpful. Because also, let's say we did have a group of people who had adopted a mindset, a viewpoint, a cosmology that was wildly incorrect and wildly far from the truth. And we knew that, and we had some concerns about that. Well, what's the best way to help those people come back into a cosmology that we feel is true? Is it to just beat them over the head with hate and call them names and stupid and all this stuff? That doesn't feel like healthy leadership to me. There's actually an account called Professor Dave, Professor Dave Teaches or something. Professor Dave Explains. Let me share my screen again. So I found this account, and I was noticing some different science related accounts that were being very hateful towards flat earthers, or being very condescending, very negative in their approach of debunking flat earth theories. And I started to question that, and I started to ask that and talk about that in the comment section on these channels, and say, hey, I've got some real concern about the hate that I'm seeing here, and I've got some real concern about why we feel the need to be hateful towards another group of people to get them to conform to our viewpoint. Why do you feel that's necessary? And that in and of itself was a major red flag. Here's actually a comment Dave left. Check this out. So I watched the first few minutes of some of his videos. He has a couple million followers, pretty popular science account. And I say the fact within the first couple of minutes you're just calling a whole group of people, a large group of people, dumb is really sad to me, regardless of whether a theory can be debunked or not. What is true is that we have a large-scale lying problem on the planet. And I think I went on to say something and a lot of people have questions about a lot of things, and they're just exploring that. And then he says, what the fuck does this have to do with the shape of the earth and the grifters who lie about it, kiddo? So this is an example of an account, a person who is very much bought into one worldview, whether it's correct or not, doesn't matter, but is throwing hate and throwing a lot of aggression, a lot of antagonistic sort of commentary, narrative, and engagement with people out into the online world. And so I told him to go to hell. and I want to also point out he's kind of in cahoots with a few other dudes on YouTube. This guy, Dave McKeegan, He's another one who's doing a lot of what I would call flat earth debunking, but in a way that's really unhealthy and negative and very, very mean to others, and doing it in a way that does not allow for a broader conversation about multiple viewpoints and a broader conversation about all of the different evidence for both that we might have. And so anyway, I've actually identified him as a cult member. So the cult, the satanic cult, the cult of Baal, loves to do the left eye symbolism, and then we also have some phallic symbolism with his camera here. He is not to be trusted. I would call him a debunked debunker. And so I've actually been doing a little exploration here. They also have an account called Answers in Genesis that these guys are connected to, doing some different debunking of different earth models and scientific, bringing their understanding of science in to debunk what they're calling flat earth theories. And so look, I'm all about like logic and science and also spirituality, obviously, because of this channel. Like that's very clear too. You know, I've had a multi-dimensional expansion of my consciousness in this lifetime. And so, you know, I'm not 100% bought into science, and I'm also not 100% only spirituality. I think a merging and a bridging of both is beautiful. And I think that's very necessary for our healthy path forward as a humanity. And I want to thank these guys. Thank you, Professor Dave, who's not really a professor, by the way. Thank you, Dave, both Daves, for encouraging me through your hate to start doing some exploration and research on the flat earth community, because now I'm actually in an exploratory process. This is kind of fun. I'll share a little bit about it here with you. And I'm not stating a particular opinion here yet, but I'm saying that I got really concerned about the amount of hate being directed towards the flat earth community. And usually when we have a large scale direction of hate towards one group, that might be indicating that something's being covered up, or there's a real attempt to diminish an entire group of people. Why? I wanted to know why. I wanted to know why. And I wanted to know both arguments because I've never really looked into it. And so I'm in a process right now of comparing and contrasting and doing an analysis on both arguments. The science we've been taught, the NASA narratives, everything we know about the globe theory and how that works, and then everything that is being presented about flat earth evidence, and we're going to compare and contrast them and see what happens. We're going to see what can be debunked. Like, can flat earth be debunked? Can round earth be debunked? Like, let's see what happens. Like, I'm approaching this with an open mind, with beginner's mind, because I think in anything that we're doing, you know, number one, we're on a journey of exploration, learning, and growth as souls. That's what we're here to do. Exploring something is not dangerous. It's not something to be scared of. It's not something we shouldn't do. If I want to explore flat earth theory and see what that's all about, I should be able to do that without receiving hate from people, right? And so I just want to like do the comparison and the contrasting and see which argument actually holds up. Let's see what we actually have more evidence for. Let's see what we actually have more evidence for. I'm curious like how this is going to go. I'm curious how this is going to land, because, you know, I want to come with a beginner's mind. I want to come with curiosity. You know, this whole time I've been doing this journey since leaving Whole Foods, which has been a journey of expansion and a journey of my own healing and seeing more truth about myself, about our cosmos, about our world, and then ultimately like doing some more of this deeper forensics analysis too on the larger cult problem that we have on the planet. You know, I want to come at these topics with curiosity, and I want to be willing to change my mind and to change my opinion when presented with new evidence. That's healthy. That's just healthy as a human, right? Like, when we get into a territory where we are told this is the only thing that is true, you cannot think beyond that, that's a real concern. That tells me we actually have some authoritarian types of programs in place. That tells me we might actually have some like Nazi kinds of agendas in place because free thinking is a good thing. It's okay. It's okay to explore topics. It's okay to explore a lot of different information. It's okay to ask questions. When was it not okay? When has it not been okay to ask questions and learn and grow? And also, for the record, when has it not been okay to adopt a particular belief and then also change your belief if that gets debunked or if more information comes out? Again, I want to be one of those people who's always willing to evolve my belief system based on the evidence that exists. And so because I also have a lot of evidence, information, understanding about the large-scale infiltration of Epstein, Israel, etc., into the U.S. government, and how this larger satanic cult infrastructure, this pedophile network that is part of a larger satanic cult infrastructure on the planet, how that's been operating, because I better understand that now, I'm also able to take a step back and say, okay, well, if we've been told we are only allowed to believe one particular thing, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. And I'm not here to say, like, this is true or that's true right now. I'm just saying, like, freedom of belief and freedom of thinking and being able to, like, evolve your belief system, hold a different belief system if that's what you want to do. Like, you should be able to do that. So I'm also here kind of standing up for flat earthers, saying they don't deserve the level of hate that's been coming at them. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck, humans? Like, we need to stop. We need to stop that. That's really inappropriate. It's really nasty. It's really nasty behavior. It's really unbecoming of the human race. Why do you think we've been isolated here for so long? Because we act like that. And it's not okay. And so anyone who is throwing that sort of hate around online, you need to check yourself and you need to ask yourself why you're doing that. If you're taking pleasure in it, you're a Nazi. If you're taking pleasure in it, if you've been paid to do it, you're probably a Nazi. Because that sort of hate and vitriol towards groups of people is very much a Nazi tactic, isn't it? We've seen that for a long time. It hasn't gone away. And it needs to go away now. Because I want to live in a world where lots of different groups of people can be exploring lots of different aspects of the cosmos and can be exploring lots of different aspects of our world and can be on a journey of their own learning and growth wherever that happens to lead them. As long as that is not actively dangerous towards others. And I would argue that the Epstein pedophile network and the leaders in our government are far more dangerous people than anyone who believes in flat earth. Like, come on. Like, flat earthers aren't out there, like, hurting people, you know? Epstein's network and our government officials, they are. They actually are, and we have the evidence of it. And so we have to compare these two things, and we have to say, you know, why is this entire group of people getting completely shut down and getting all this hate? And where's that coming from? And what's the deeper agenda there? Like, that's a question I have. That's a bigger question I have. So again, I'm doing this larger exploration partially because I got led into it by finding these accounts and finding these hateful accounts and saying, wow, you guys are are expending a lot of energy and going to a lot of trouble to, like, shut down this group of people and to make it very hateful and fearful related to even going near that. So let me go near that. Let me actually step into that and see why you're throwing so much hate. Let me see why that dynamic is occurring. So as a leader, as someone who has always been a leader of people, transformation, change on this planet, I'm a former global vice president for Whole Foods Market. It's always been my mission to make sure that I can hold a center and that I can, with a large group of people, say, okay, here are all these opinions, here are all these ideas, all these contributions to the conversation. Now, let's, in a productive and healthy and constructive way, work towards what our best solution is, or what our best path forward is, or what our most aligned and healthy path forward is for this entire group of people. I want to be that sort of person who says, I'm not here to just say, that's stupid, I'm here to say, well, NASA's been lying, and if NASA's been lying, maybe that's not stupid. Maybe there's something going on there we need to look at. Maybe not all of it's correct, but maybe some of it's correct. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out together. Let's go on a journey of exploration together, because why not? Why not? Why not? Also, let's step into our multidimensional selves for a moment. Let's put on our multidimensional pants, and let's think about the idea that would everything in our universe be conforming to one particular structure or design or creation? Maybe in the model where we say it's all an accident and that a big bang happened and matter just spun into all these balls. Okay. But let's zoom out a little more and say, well, what if there's intelligent creation in this universe? What if there's different levels of intelligent creation, both source, like God, but then also all these other creator beings who are influencing the evolution of galaxies and worlds? And what if there are different types of planets? What if they're not all balls? What if they're not all spheres? They don't have to be. Who told us they have to be? Who told us the only type of planet in the universe is a sphere? NASA does not have that technology to tell us that. We need to open our minds. We need to ask some questions and say, okay, here's my beginner's mind. Here's how I'm approaching it. I'm not saying what I believe yet. I'm not saying what's true or not. But also, if it's not a globe, is that a problem? Right? If it's not a globe, well, okay. I'm not going to get mad about that. I'm going to get mad at NASA for lying, but doesn't really make a difference to me. I don't care. Come on, why all the hate and conflict around this topic? Whoa, I'm sorry, why do you need to protect the globe so much? I don't, it's I don't know about that. Why are we acting that way? Why are we trying to protect the globe with our life? I don't get it. That doesn't make sense to me. So, I'm laughing about that because it seems ridiculous, right? Why does it matter? Yes, we want to know truth. Yes, we want to stand in objective reality. Yes, we want to align with objective reality. Absolutely. We're trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out what my objective reality is. And also, it's okay to have a moment where you're okay, well, maybe I don't know. I'm just allowing myself to have that moment and allowing myself to just go down that path of exploration to say, okay, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe that can be a fun thing. Maybe that actually can be a cool thing to say, whoa, well, maybe we have a lot more exploration to do. What if a lot has been hidden from us? Well, then let's find out. Let's see what's true and what's not. And also, if it's not a globe, well, again, why do we need to be angry about that? Again, it's one thing to have some anger related to whether we've been lied to, but why have we so staunchly adopted this belief system in a way that if a different belief system gets proposed, we become violent about it? What? I'm sorry, I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in your globe world if that's what this is about. It just seems so funny to me. And so anyway, I've been going through a lot of different layers of what's going on here? And maybe, I do need to just explore this some more. And just, again, for the purpose of both standing up for a group of people who don't deserve that much hate and are just on the receiving end of something really nasty that like they shouldn't be receiving, because this other group of people thinks that they need to like protect some belief system with a bunch of violence and hate. And so I'm standing up for this group of people without knowing like which one might be ultimately true yet, but then also saying, look, like, can we all just approach life with beginner's mind? That's a decent concept for us to embody. Can we all just come back to a place of being a little more curious and a little more open-minded and a little more open to dialogue without mean words towards each other? Can we all just like remember what healthy debate looks like rather than hateful debate? Because hateful debate tells me that like we're not actually having a debate, right? So this NASA exploration has taken me down a really interesting path now that I think is important, you know, and regardless of the outcome, regardless of whether we live on like a flat earth with a firmament type of protective covering and like inner earth structure below that versus a round globe that's hovering in space, regardless of which one it is, does it even freaking matter? I guess I would tell you what the like ultimate crux of the issue is and why it would matter to certain people is because if it's not a globe and if the basic scientific theory doesn't hold up, which basically has told us it's been kind of this accident of evolution, well then we're back to the creation theory, right? Let's see what's true. I'll report back. I'll report back. More to come. More to come. Tell me what you think. What have you explored? This is a free thinking temple, okay? This is a free thinking, safe space to just talk about our observations and our thoughts and theories. It's not wrong to just explore topics. It's not wrong to have these conversations. And I'm curious. I want to crowdsource too. I want to crowdsource from a lot of different arguments, and I've been starting to go down that rabbit hole a little bit, like looking at all the different arguments and saying, okay, like let's start to put all this together and start to compare them all. I'm using AI to help me do a bunch of analysis, and so more to come. More to come. I just learned about a fun, interesting cartography issue that we have going on. The Mercator map is what we normally use. That's kind of our consensus map at this point that shows Greenland really big. And guess what? That's not accurate, apparently. Apparently, the Gall-Peters map is way more accurate, is a more accurate depiction of the continent sizes. So we have some like distortion in the continent sizes on the current map we're using. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to think about. And so when we start to also correct those continent sizes a bit, like get the ratios a bit more correct on the visual map, this doesn't necessarily mean our GPS mapping and tracking in terms of like mileage and stuff isn't accurate, but just the visual depiction of the map may be a bit inaccurate. And so it's like when we start to look at some of these things where we've had inaccuracies in our depiction of our world, well, like you can just start to like see more emerging. You know, like that's a really interesting one to say, wow, wait a second, Africa hasn't been depicted right. And basically what has happened is like some of the northern, like Western countries have been depicted bigger than they should be. And that's partially been a power play. It's been partially this like geopolitical power play to say like we're positioned in like the big, you know, spot on the planet, and all these other, you know, countries are less important. That's kind of what's happened a little bit with that mapping system. And so when we correct it with the Gall-Peters map, I'm actually going to go print it so I can look at it more in person today. When we look at the Gall-Peters map, Africa becomes way bigger and has a way more substantial presence on the planet. And so these sorts of things are interesting to me, and these are the sorts of things that I'm starting to explore and I'm starting to check out. And so you can now see on the Star Family Wisdom channel. Let me show you the website real quick because we have a lot of new content on here that I have not even shown you. I've been on a journey over the last few weeks, y'all. Check this out. So we now have a lot of Cult of Ball history. I've already talked about this on the channel, but now we have some additional fun deep dives and analysis. We have a Meghan Markle case study. It starts here in the Epstein Files, Nazi 2.0 and Global Cover-Ups section, where we start to identify the connections between Meghan, Karina Shuliak, and Andrew Mountbatten. And so that took me on a pretty big rabbit hole deep dive where I've basically debunked Meghan's identity and history. And so you can find more there. And then we also have the NASA PSYOP page. We now have a page on JP Morgan and their financial corruption and their connection to the Epstein network, their active involvement in it and their criminal activity. Another page on Andrew Mountbatten to go a little deeper there. And then a fun, interesting Taylor Swift identity analysis. That might be fun for those who are interested in understanding more of the occult magic on the planet and how different lineages of occult magic have developed. So more to come. Is the earth round? Is the earth flat? Where do we live? What's the consensus out there? I think the general consensus has been it's round, but have we been lied to? What do you guys think? I'm curious. I'll report back with my information and my findings in the near future so that we can broaden this conversation and talk about it a little more and talk about, the findings and talk about how all the evidence stacks and compares. And again, I want to bless the evolution, learning, and growth of all souls and say that we are all safe in our process of learning and growing and exploring and asking questions. And we've also been living in our dark ages on this planet. The last couple of thousand years have been an era of big darkness on this planet, an era where the Antichrist rises, an era where confusion reigns, an era where deception reigns. And it's important that we understand that. It's important that we understand that when the Antichrist consciousness grows on this planet, the level of deception grows, the level of confusion grows, and we might, find ourselves in a situation where a lot has been hidden from us. And that's what I'm starting to see. And again, just like on all these different levels. And the first step is holding these criminals accountable for all of the crimes that we do have really good evidence of in the Epstein files, and starting to get to the bottom of these large-scale deceptions and starting to get to the bottom of all of the actions that have been happening in the shadows on this planet, because it's time for everything to come out of the shadows. We can't go forward in a healthy, beautiful way if we still have a lot of our truth in the shadows. And so it's part of my mission to explore those shadows and see, what in myself has also still been hidden, and to find my way back into what feels like my most truthful, aligned experience of self, source, and my reality. And I bless that for you too. Okay, bye for now.